All right, I have an incredible target right here. My heart is pounding. Just to put it into perspective, we are standing right next to an old colonial home foundation. I have found nothing here outside of the 1700s. This target is a beautiful, clean, loud 95. Let's dig it up.
Well, hey folks, my name is Brad. If you happen to be new to my videos, I explore the mountains of Vermont, searching for treasure with my metal detector. And today I once again hiked way up into the mountains, bushwhacking pretty much the whole way until I found this small trail which I followed here. Right over there is an old stone foundation from a home that was here over 250 years ago, and hopefully the treasures that we find in the ground today will tell us a little bit about who these people were, what they were up to, and maybe where they went. Now, if this happens to be one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday, so if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button, or just come on back next week. I'm gonna get the metal detector turned on, see what we can find here today.
All right, this is our second target here. The first target was a little piece of pewter, which is great. This is a 61, very similar target to the last one. Wow. All right, you know what that is. A big white bronze button with a beautiful, beautiful pattern on there. So these buttons have a unique composition. There isn't much copper in them, so we don't get a whole lot of verdigris on them, and they stay beautiful and shiny in the ground for hundreds of years. This is no doubt from the 1700s, but it looks brand new. Always impressed when these come out of the ground looking like that. Great find right on the edge of the foundation, in between the foundation and the road. Obviously would have been quite a bit of travel right here, so we're going to stick here, see if we can find a few more things. Right here we have a very quiet 91, 92. Actually sounds pretty good. See it. That looks like an old coin. Can't believe it. Can't believe it.
Well, when I start metal detecting a place like this, I will typically start really close to the foundation hole, going around it a few times and then slowly getting further and further away until I stop finding things, and it can be assumed that that is the area where these people spent the most time. I haven't even made it all the way around the foundation hole one time yet, and what we have here is a very old copper coin. As we spray it and look at it, the details are then revealed that this is in fact a Vermont copper coin. My favorite coin by far to find up here in the mountains at these old colonial places. Now, there were a couple different varieties of these Vermont copper coins. One of them had the beautiful landscape design with the sun peeking over the mountains, and this design, which looks a lot like a British coin, but we can see over on the left side it actually says VERMON. Now, if you haven't put it together yet, I spend the vast majority of my time metal detecting and treasure hunting in Vermont. I'm actually a 7th generation Vermonter myself, and the word Vermont comes from the French phrase Green Mountain, which is where the channel name comes from. Unfortunately, we can't read the date on it, but it would have been sometime in the 1780s. Absolutely incredible coin for me. Like I said, one of my favorites. I absolutely cannot complain about the condition. Beautiful.
73, 72. We know what that is. Ooh, it's a beautiful one too. A fragment.
Well, if you have ever seen one of my past videos, especially one filmed within the last 6 months or so, you probably already know what this little piece of brass once belonged to. Taking a look at it, we see there is a beautiful design with a little flower at this end. This is just a tiny piece of what would have been a colonial shoe buckle. Now, how can I tell that this tiny piece of brass went to a shoe buckle and not a knee buckle or a hat buckle or a sash buckle or literally anything else? Well, I have found shoe buckles with this exact pattern on it in the past, so I'm pretty confident that that is what it went to. It wouldn't be a day at one of these old colonial cellars up in the mountains without finding at least one or a piece of a shoe buckle. They were very, very common attire at the time, not necessarily while working on the farm, but if they were getting dressed up and maybe going down to town to church or attending a gathering like a wedding or something, they would certainly adorn their shoe buckles. This one, unfortunately, is completely shattered. Why? Who knows? But we do have a tiny little piece of it here to get some idea about just how beautiful it was. I have to guess it was likely a lady's shoe buckle. One of my absolute favorite finds, and you know, maybe as the day goes on we'll find more of this one or maybe the other one complete. We'll have to wait and see. Awesome little piece.
I'm pretty confident this is going to be iron, but it's reading very high in some directions, so honestly it could be anything. Let's see. Yeah, rock. There it is. Oh no, that's just a full brick. Just totally randomly. Very old though. Look how imperfect it is. Alright, so there's a nail. Another nail. Very small nails. Horseshoe maybe. But this thing, the random find, was the treasure, I guess.
We can see that it is not perfect whatsoever with all of these little cracks and fissures. But the thing that I find most interesting about this brick is where I found it. As I hiked in today, I hiked down a trail that I had assumed was the old road, but as the day went on, metal detecting around the foundation, I discovered what I think is actually the old roadbed, totally grown up back into forest. And so I've been spending some time metal detecting here, and this is where I found the brick, which actually makes a lot of sense because when I'm at these old stone foundations up in the mountains, nearly 100% of the time, all of the brickwork that certainly was here is gone. And that's because bricks are valuable. They would have been disassembled and carted out on this old road, and it seems like one of them must have fallen out of the cart. In the same hole as this brick were a couple nails, which I'm assuming were horseshoe nails. They're very, very small, which also makes a lot of sense for an old roadbed. Now that I know that this is where the road was, I can spend a lot of time in between the foundation and the road where there would have been a lot of foot traffic. Hopefully we can find a few more cool things. It's a great old brick, but also it's a great clue for hopefully where we can find a few more treasures today.
Very low target right here. Let's just stay 37. Well, when I first put my eyes on this, I thought it was going to be a little shell casing, but it isn't. It's just a little brass tube. What did it go to? Anything, right? Your guess is as good as mine. Finding little shell casings is not uncommon whatsoever. I actually haven't found any here today, but they're pretty common. This thing though, no idea. All right, I have an incredible target right here. My heart is pounding. Just to put it into perspective, we are standing right next to an old colonial home foundation. I have found nothing here outside of the 1700s. This target is a beautiful, clean, loud 95. Let's dig it up. and I moved it. See it, it's right there. It is a copper coin. That high number had me thinking maybe it was a silver coin, but it's gonna be an old one. Oh my gosh. Look at that.
Man, oh man. Well, like I said, that high number on the metal detector was leading me to believe that it might have been an old piece of silver, but this copper coin I just found is one of the absolute best that you could find at an old place like this. As we look at it here, we can see these rings around the outside, and it actually looks like it was not struck in the middle. They're a little bit offset. And in the middle, it would have said, "We are one." As we flip it over, however, we can see in the center here is a sundial. And down below it says, "Mind your business." We can't quite make it out, but there is some text over here on the left side that says Fujio. And on the right side, it would have said 1787. This is the Fujio cent, or sometimes called the Franklin cent, because it was designed by Benjamin Franklin. This is the very first United States coin that was minted here and released into circulation in 1787. Now that "mind your business," as amazing as that is, isn't actually meant the way we would take that today, like mind your own business. It was meant literally to be mindful of your financial affairs and your business. And Benjamin Franklin thought that to be important enough to put it on the first coin. Absolutely incredible coin. And it still blows me away today to find old coins as important and rare as this, just seemingly in the middle of nowhere. Amazing.
Collection of targets here. We've got a 70 right there and a 76 over here. I'm quite a ways from the foundation, so this could be anything. That's a piece of lead, like a musket ball. Old bullet.
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, I usually start real close to the foundation hole itself and then slowly work my way out. Right now, I've actually made a very big loop around the outside perimeter. The foundation is up on a little bank right here. I'm down a bit of a hill, and on that hill, I found, at first, one little squished musket ball, but then I found a second, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and as I stand up and check around, they seem to be everywhere in the side of this bank, which would have been facing the home. And it could be something very benign, right? Maybe the people that lived here, or maybe somebody who was in the woods after this building was already gone, just decided to do some target practice with a muzzle-loading musket at the side of this bank. But there's also that possibility that there was a lot of gunfire at the building itself. All we can do is speculate, but it certainly makes the mind race. It seems like there are probably a dozen or two more in this bank right here. I'm going to stick with the 5 that I dug up, but drop a GPS point for this location to possibly return to at a later date to dig up the rest of them. Pretty strange. I find a lot of musket balls, but never like this. Let me know what you think about this.
This is a 69. Nice. Oh, I see it. Way bigger than I was expecting. Interesting. I have never seen that before.
Well, I think it would be an understatement to say that I find a lot of buttons metal detecting. It's not unusual whatsoever to find a dozen or 2 or 3, especially at old colonial places like this, way up in the mountains. I'm not exactly sure what they were doing, if it was the farming or logging or what, but they lost them all over the place. That being said, I have never seen one like this. We can see here on the back, the loop shank is still intact, but the button itself has a pretty unique shape to it, cupping away from the shank. But the thing that I'm most excited about is the design in the center of this button. Now, I find them all the time with little starbursts or little line patterns, but this seems to depict a sun and a moon. Is this an eclipse, perhaps? Would every button on the piece of clothing progress through the eclipse? Fortunately, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to figure that out, but what an amazing, unique button. Now, whenever we find these, we're always hoping for some kind of insignia, like a military insignia, or maybe like a George Washington inaugural button or loyalist button. This seems to just be a pretty design, but one I have never seen or even heard of before. Is it an eclipse? I don't know, but that's what I'm going to call it. Let me know what you think. Really amazing, unique, old button.
I'm pretty sure we have a nice target under this tree. Try to move out of the way here. Got a nice solid 89 right here, right on the edge of the foundation. 88. This. That looks like a big old coin to me. Incredible. Wow. That is beautiful.
Well, metal detecting in the forest is always a struggle because of all of the fallen trees and saplings and ferns and branches. It's a constant battle to try to get the coil of my metal detector over as much ground as possible, and I'll oftentimes find myself kind of sticking my arm in the metal detector through branches to try to get to ground I can't walk to. And what we have here is yet another old copper coin. It is gorgeous. We can see all of the armor on this character. Over on the right side, we can see pretty clearly where it says Connect for Connecticut. On the left side, it would have said Auctori, which is Latin for authority of Connecticut. This is another state copper, much like that Vermont copper that I had found earlier. It seems pretty clear that these people were gone before 1800 came around. Now, we always wonder why that is, but it's very likely that these people couldn't take it up here. We are so far from anything. This ground is not great for farming, maybe for sheep, maybe they were doing logging. In any case, it would have been very, very hard living up here, especially in the wintertime. Or, let us not forget, all of those musket balls in the bank, right down there. Flying this way, maybe? In any case, a very special place up here in the mountains where they lost a few things, mostly buttons, but some absolutely beautiful coins. All right, folks, well, I am calling it quits for the day, and this place is pretty special. Obviously because of all of the amazing things I found in the ground, but also most places, the vast majority of things I find are found by noon or 1 o'clock, and then the rest of the day it's a real struggle to find more. This place, though, I seem to find things all day, probably because about noon or 1 o'clock I started moving trees and kicking logs out of the way to find new ground. In any case, amazing treasures today. 15 old buttons, tiny fragment of a shoe buckle, and of course 3 amazing old copper coins. A Vermont, a Connecticut, and a Mind Your Business Fujio cent. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you happen to enjoy it so much you'd like to see a slightly longer version that contains more site context, more finds, and the occasional outtake, if only I could talk. Consider becoming a Green Mountain YouTube member. All the information for that will be down in the comment section below this video. Thanks again. Hopefully you'll join me next Friday for another new adventure somewhere up here in the mountains of Vermont.